if I were JDG.
See if this time they lock in a champion, or if we're going to get a 15-minute dodge timer this time around. Going to be the Naafiri, which has been one of the most powerful junglers in the meta. JunJia going to get his hands on that.
Yeah, interesting for me that they sort of go for this super early, respecting the fact that with so many junglers not actually banned, that they can just kind of take whichever one they want. They opt for the Naafiri. I know game number 1 was a sort of completely different take. The Casio picked up by BLG, which would have been my money for which first pick they go for. Obviously responded with a Jarvan as well. So they're just saying they're going to keep as many of their cards close to their chest. I don't think the Casio reveals all that much about a composition. Jarvan doesn't do that either. Does mean that you kind of want to take a marksman down on that bot side. I love the enhanced attack speed that Jarvan gives to marksman, but we'll see whether or not that ends up coming to fruition. For JDG here, they lock in an immediate Lucian, which does tend to suggest they need to go for the Milio here, which also then means that that mid lane pool is going to get pinched from HongQ in the second round of bans.
We just saw last series, Top Esports dropped game number 1 and then decided, all right, we're going to put Jackie Love on some lane dominant player champions instead. Went the Lucian Milio, then the Ashe Seraphine. Maybe that's the formula for JDG to find some success. As we round out our first phase of picks, potential pick for Wenbo. He got his pool pinched just a little bit last time around, so maybe an opportunity for him to lock in a safe Gnar, still allow for that flexibility. The K'Sante works all the same, and then ban away some counters that Xiaoxu might have up his sleeve.
Yeah, I think that the K'Sante is a little better here, because when you take the Gnar, you then have to ban away things like a Tristana, maybe even a Vayne on that top side. But the K'Sante here, your bans can be slightly different. Looks like they're going to go for the Gnar. They're going to probably go for the Vayne as well after this. But it gives now HongQ his free reign of mid laners, and I think that Naafiri pairings are actually really important. You want something that's going to set up for the Naafiri here, so things like the Annie tend to rise really highly when you've got the Naafiri locked into the jungle, which would have been my pick for something that they tried to ban away as BLG, so instead they've obviously gone a completely different direction with it. And then you look at JDG, what they're going to look to ban away. They've got this Lucian Milio, incredibly dominant bot lane pairing. They need to try and ban things that are good in response to that. The Caitlyn taken off the board. If they want to get rid of the Ashe Seraphine here as well, I think that's a really good takeaway if they can.
Looking for that final ban here, yeah, the Ashe as a response to the Lucian Milio, always going to be pretty decent. See if it's the bot lane focus, or instead something towards either Knight or Viper. I'd imagine that, yeah, it's going to be the Lulu taken away, so getting rid of potentially another Ashe pairing there. Yeah,
and this is sort of saying that we don't mind if you take Ashe Seraphine. Obviously, the Milio, the inherent counter, this was the pick that, or the Lucian Milio was the pick that people were taking into Ashe Seraphine because of the Breath of Life. Now I get to see what BLG want to respond. Obviously, they're uncontested in this second round, so whatever they end up taking, we know that they're going to get a good pairing for it. The Rakan is locked in, first of all, to give them another way to go forward. We'll have to see whether or not that Xayah gets locked in response. For JDG here, it's about them getting double counterpick on those solo lanes, and what do they choose to do with it?
I don't know exactly where this Casio is going just yet, but you can at least kind of try to give them something that would disincentivize Knight taking that one into the mid lane. Rumble for Xiaoxu, a very safe pick into the K'Sante that'll get a pretty decent laning phase. And then we'll see what exactly HongQ wants to select here on the 5 pick.
Yeah, you're quite right. This is completely went over my head, but this is a blind pick actually for HongQ. Has to be able to play this into anything. Because we've seen Viper already pilot the Casio, and he might just do it again here. The Galio, obviously, a very good matchup into the Cassiopeia, so if BLG here decide that they want to try to swap it around, they're more than enlightened to do so. Instead decide that it's good enough to take this pick and will be fine with it, keep the Lovers duo as a pair down on that bot side.
Almost a normal draft that we have between these two teams.
What is this in the Big 26?
I think specifically for BLG, this is a very rare occurrence. Some other teams have resorted to compositions like this a little bit more frequently, but it seems like they're happy enough going for the traditional 2v2. Obviously on the Rakan, still going to be able to make his presence known alongside the Jarvan of Xun. The JDG also have a little bit more stability now in that bottom lane. We'll see if Gala and Vampire can pick up a significant advantage in the 2v2.
Yeah, I do wonder how JDG are going to look to start fights, because that's my main thing that stands out to me is, well, how do they actually do any of this? It doesn't feel like they've got any actual engage. Any of the engage that they do get is going to be very easily mitigated. They've got Cassio and then there's Xayah to try and play into, both of which very good champions at sort of kiting backwards. So do you think that JDG here are going to be in a little bit of trouble when it gets to these team fights? Second they step forward, they'll get hit by a Blade Caller, get hit by Cassio ulti, or slammed into a ult with Jarvan. So definitely some problems that could come their way if they don't navigate these team fights all that well.
BLG had faced, of course, some adversity over their first few series, dropping games in each of their first 4 matchups. They then swept Team WE yesterday and are looking to do the same against the team that they took down in the grand finals of Split 1 back in Shanghai for game number 2 between BLG and JD Gaming.
Early wards down onto the Raptor pit here for Knight as he gives a little bit of info over to his jungler. And they'll be looking to spot out the pathing early on of JunJia. What is the Neferi going to get up to? Maybe an early gank onto the top side, maybe one down into the bot lane to try and give this bot lane a even bigger boost to the early stages of this game.
Another summoner spells being burned in the bottom lane. Gala has that exhaust on top and forced to pop that barrier. Taking a look at the runes real quick, it's a Conqueror for Viper in the bottom lane. Not something you typically see. Normally things like a Fleet Footwork or Lethal Tempo are more popular, but perhaps BLG thinking they're going to be playing some long extended fights against what JD Gaming have to offer.
Alrighty. I don't mind that as an idea, as a concept. Level 2's hit down on the bot side. They do need to be careful. I think on clearing that ward is a massive suggestion that their jungler is up to something. It's Jarvan at the end of the day. This is a very real possibility here that, you know, we get an early gank. So I'd like to see JDG just play a little bit more respectfully.
Yeah, you don't always see On do the crazy roam down to the bottom lane, right? That's not typically in other areas.
Whoa. What's he doing?
How dare he to be down here over these first couple of minutes? But that is probably more of the game plan than usual for BLG, just knowing how powerful the Xayah Rakan is in a 2v2, and also how strong the Lucian Milio is, and trying to mitigate that in the slightest.
Both of the junglers did go back to base. Pick up a long sword as well, so their skirmishes around wherever they go. Doesn't look like they're going to be fighting over crabs this time. Are both going to be that little bit more dangerous. But JunJia was notably ahead of the pace here from Junas. You know, they're both clearing at about the same speed now, so it doesn't particularly matter. The Neferi you would expect to be a little bit quicker than the Jarvan, but we'll be looking to get a little bit more active, looking for that first crab. As far as this game goes in terms of that scaling, give a slight edge over to BLG. Again, really think that JDG are going to struggle to start fights later on. I think that they're going to struggle to have enough damage later on as well. Cassio gets so much HP and so much damage, and then Xayah has so much safety as well as damage. But it's JDG early on, looking to try and find a dive. Easy with Neferi and that turret reset.
Who will the first target be? It looks like Viper flashes away early on, and it looks like the first kill still will go the way of Gala, and everybody on JD Gaming out scot-free.
Nicely done there. Vampire starts up by tanking the turret just with an auto attack, so it doesn't give any wiggle room on that outplay. And then as soon as the turret has started tanking, JDG unleash all of their damage. Take down Viper, who is going to lose out on the lion's share of this wave. Really give JDG a strong start in game number 2.
And the snowballing all the more important now on JD's side, knowing that the scaling on the opposite end for Bilibili is rather strong. We also see a little bit of lead in the top side. For Wenbo, he gets that wave, or for Xiaoxu I should say, gets that wave crashed in, forces Wenbo to teleport back up. So JDG feeling very confident about their current state of things in this game.
Swifty boots there for Xiaoxu as well, dodging out on the Untofu strikes. Going to be made that little bit easier as he moves into this lane now. Jungle is looking to try and complete their second clears, and you can see Xun has gone for a very organic Jarvan build path here, with just brute forcing the damage as best as possible. And now maybe looking to rinse and repeat, get a little bit of vengeance based off of what Viper had happened to him down on the bot side.
Now, crucially, despite the dive going through, both flashes are available for Gala and Vampire. We'll see if they can escape this dive. The first EQ going to miss. The knockup lands all the same from On. Barrier pop from Gala. He's staying alive for a decent amount of time, but not enough before he eventually goes down to BLG. Knight then joining the fray. Gets on the board with the Twin Fangs and makes it a 2-0. Around the bottom side, and JunJia can do nothing about it.
And that is a very clean response from BLG. They say anything you can do, we can do better. Pull their mid laner down. And Knight able to find one of the kills on, unfortunately, the recipient of the pickup onto the Lucian, but they won't care. That's a massive wave denied by or denied from Gala. And it catches up Viper, importantly. All of that early advantage that was accrued from the dive, now completely rendered useless.
Yeah, so as soon as Viper lost a wave, Gala lost a little bit more, and also gave us 2 kills over, especially one over tonight. So BLG evening up that gold lead. We have the dragon spawning, just that ocean drake, and it will be JDG to get there first, which shown on the top side of the map should not be an easy contest.
I don't think they're going to be able to take this one easily, though. BLG have got Knight, who, with that catalyst, is very strong in this early stage of the game at the very least, but exhaust down onto Gala very early.
On trying to bait out the relentless pursuit before going forward with that grand entrance. Looks like JunJia peeling off of the dragon for now, knowing that Shun has an opportunity to roam down. Instead, turning his attention once again towards the bottom lane. Potential for another dive to ensue, but BLG doing a good job holding the wave to make sure that those minions do not crash.
And small thing, we didn't get to see it on screen, but Knight was actually chasing HongQ the entire time, forced them all the way underneath the tier 1 turret down on the bot side to make sure that that hero's entrance couldn't come through and that the fight would be even harder.
Another play. It's double exhaust, by the way, on BLG's bottom lane. Viper and On really want to make sure this Lucian unable to do a ton, and Shun is now level 6, making his way between the 2 turrets and should be able to take Gala down. There's the knockup. Not even need the ultimate until he finally issues the Cataclysm to seal the 3rd kill in for BLG.
Yeah, Vampire, unfortunate timing there. He uses Summoner Spell Flash and Summoner Heal as the Relentless Pursuit takes Gala out of the range of both of said Summoner Spells. So it's a really big whiff there on the bot side, and it's Jun here in game number 2 who is making the game all about him. And quite rightly so, really. Making a massive statement as this Jarvan and the ability to do things just that little bit better than an Apheri can.
BLG proving they don't even have to play the mages. They could play standard too and still beat some of the best that we have in the league. Of course, they now have the 3-1 advantage. Play marksman. True. I mean, maybe it's easier to forget because it's been so long since we've seen him play one. But I mean, that's what he made his bread on for most of his career.
This is true. Very, very talented player who is just adding really another layer to the skill cap he will have. Level 6 to level 5, also bone plating for Viper down on that bot side. So just so incredibly safe, really. The exhaust for Viper and then the spell book it was for On that got the 2nd exhaust through. But that exhaust is going to have such high value. The only real person that's ever going to get in range and threaten the Xayah is the Neferi, as now HongQ trying to get in range for an ulti.
We have plays on opposite sides of the map. It is HongQ getting chased down by Shun and Knight, and a dive potentially started by JDG, but they end up peeling away to try to save their mid laner. But now it is On going forward with quickness, landing the knock up onto the Lucian and taking Gala down. It's Knight that lands the final blow. Vampire the next to follow. A double kill for the Cassiopeia, and BLG starting to blow this game open.
And another really clean play by BLG. Again, some missed inputs from JDG notably here. Vampire missing out on the Ultra Mega Fire Kick means that Viper can free hit. Means that the Lucian gets rooted up, that follow-up CC comes through, and it again just makes the life of JDG that little bit harder. Gala remains the one with a gold lead, just barely, just slightly here. But you can see that even with that, he's finding such a struggle across the board that there's not really a way for them to come back into this one just yet.
And Shun, such a massive part of this early game. Hasn't had his roaming buddy in On as much, but still able to contribute to all 5 kills that BLG had in the first 9 minutes. He is certainly proving to be an absolute menace in that jungle position.
JunJia here will be able to, at the very least, start up these grubs. He's going to find probably all 3, it looks like. Worth mentioning that Xiaoxu here has been able to force Wenbo out of lane once again. Doesn't look like they've recalled since the first time as well. Xiaoxu still with the Swifties.
Shun almost able to steal that one away, but still will be all 3 grubs going the way of JDG Gaming. The one small advantage that they have remains on the top side of the map, with both JunJia and Xiaoxu ahead slightly in terms of CS. Oh, what a flag and drag from Shun, predicting the finish off of the Justice Punch. And HongQ is stuck in that Cataclysm, gonna get burned down by Knight, who goes on a rampage. Another kill going the way of BLG, and there's more fighting on the bottom side. Exhaust goes out onto Gala. The cozy campfire trying to keep the Lucian alive. The culling comes out, another summoner heal going to save him for now, but BLG continuing to put pedal to the metal here in this second match.
And the leads just are everywhere at this stage. BLG have done such a good job at securing advantages across every single area that is important. If your Cassante goes down, we don't particularly care. Now see a play down the bot side though.
And there goes the Hound's Pursuit, but on cancels the dash forward with a grand entrance of his own. Viper still will go down to the second proc of the ultimate, going to be good. So it is 2 kills off of the overforce by JDG. It does mean that BLG get a little bit more on the top side for Wenbo.
Yeah, and we saw this a little bit here in game number 1, where it's JDG committing very heavily to try and make something happen down on that bot side. What does it lose them? It's honestly gold onto the Cassante again can be valuable, but relative to where you're looking to get gold for yourself, I think it's a sacrifice that they have to be willing to take here. JDG don't win this as the game gets later. It becomes much more difficult to try and play into a Cassante as the game does get later. Now JunJia smites and is going to be forced to hop over this wall. Well, he's not going to be if Shun doesn't go over the wall himself, so that's fair enough.
Asserted dominance all the same, right? He's going to go back and try to clear these, but has to be a little bit worried about Shun coming back in. JunJia, though, has to be a really big piece of JDG moving forward on the Nefiri if they want to have some chance of evening this series up. Does have the Voltaic Cyclist Sword now. He has not gotten as active on the map as Shun, despite both junglers having 100% kill participation. It's Shun that has brought his team to that 1,500 gold lead.
You can see in the mid lane as well that it's really starting to explode. Knight able to garner 4 kills, 3 of them from roaming. And I highlighted the Cassio at the start of the draft as one of the picks that I would be taking blind, that you just take in any given situation. I feel like Knight here is going to give us a pretty good reason for why. You see HongQ has gone very defensive with the build path as well, straight into the Abyssal to try to stave off of some of the damage. Of course, the problem here becomes if he gets hit by anybody that's not the Cassio, he's going to get absolutely melted.
Yep, everybody else on BLG does a decent amount of physical damage. The Abyssal Mask also a buff towards Xiaoxu, who is playing that Rumble, and try to reduce some of that magic resist across the board. With Xiaoxu also having the Liandry's for a little bit of extra magic pen. So slightly hybrid item in a way for HongQ, but definitely going for a more defensive style against the likes of Knight and BLG.
And for this series as well, we painted the picture. Oh, hold on. Never mind. JunJia able to succeed on the hands check. We painted the picture that this was going to be a little bit of a top lane versus the world for JDG.
Yeah, because right now the rest of the map not going so well for them. Gala caught in the Cataclysm, finally able to dash away. Now it's just the culling to try to take Shun a little bit lower. He's at about half HP, but looks like both of these players going to have to reset before the dragon that spawns in 40 seconds.
All right, really good stuff by JDG to actually survive that. They do get a lot of cooldowns in a very small sequence of time. Their Knight, Jun, and On all using their ults to try to make something happen. And all that they lost was the barrier and the breath of life from the bot lane. So a chance for that Drake fight in 20 seconds to maybe be a bit more favorable for JDG.
Still mid push here for Viper at the moment, with Gala going on the reset. Shun actually not going towards the dragon at the moment. He's currently sitting in the top side of the map, clearing away his Gromp. So JDG going to get inner workings for now, and we'll see if BLG actually do want to respond to this, or if they are comfortable resetting and allowing this Drake to go over for free.
Looks like the results of those resets is JDG starting this one up uncontested. Pings on the map are to go and take some space back from the river, but I don't think it's going to be nearly fast enough here, as it's BLG who are quite happy with this game state right now. Don't need to be too worried with the better scaling composition, and 1-0 in the series. Looks like they can close this one out, hopefully without too many difficulties.
Yeah, I mean, if BLG aren't in the best position to go for a fight, might as well just try to continue to scale. JDG all at their 1-item power spikes at the moment, which is where this mid-game composition is particularly strong. BLG going to continue to scale very nicely into the late game with the help of Knight and Viper specifically. So it will be them opting instead to focus towards other areas of the map and allowing for this game to accelerate further towards that late game.
Interrupt on the recall here of Xiaoxu, maybe to the detriment of Knight, as there are 3 people on this top side. First time these junglers have really come head to head.
It's not going to result in all too much. Now back to the mid lane we go. Culling here for Gala. This is kind of the play style that this Lucian Milio wants to employ towards the mid game. Establish mid domination with the help of your ultimate every time it is off cooldown. You try to force Viper and on away. And it looks like that is going to be successful for the time being.
I mean, but look at the damage that did, right? Like, On's down 300, Viper down 200. Yes, they used the locket, but pretty low value from the culling. As long as they get the mid lane control, I think that they'll be happy enough with that. We're fighting over this Herald, really. That's what the prio is for. Wenbo's proxying down on the bot lane, so we'll be able to move sooner than Xiaoxu without losing out on anything.
The Herald not started by either team. It seems like both squads interested in a fight, but not one that is not on their own terms. So neither of them wanting to get that first hit onto Shelly, at least for the time being. See some more pushing here in the top side between our 2 mid laners. Knight still awaiting that fully stacked Rod of Ages, and it looks like everybody is okay to back away for now, which again we think, Roodood, is going to favor BLG in the long term.
Again, I don't know how JDG start a fight. Let's look at their composition of of champions and tell me where the engage is, right? That's consistent and that is relatively successful. JunJia can throw himself into the mixer and maybe open up for a Galio ulti to get in there. But if that's my engage threat, that just pales in comparison to a Jarvan Rakan duo diving on me with Cassante easily able to take anybody who tries to engage out. And then we look at the tools that they're engaging into as well as JDG. They're going versus a Cassante, so they've got to go through the front or try and find a flank angle, which Wenbo should be looking to mark off. They've then got to play into Miasma, Petrifying Gaze, and Featherstorm to try and get onto any of those high-value targets. I just think that as this game gets later, this game becomes so much more impossible for JDG to successfully play. The fact that they're already behind, it just does not bode in any way well for them. They need to try and get a little bit sneaky, start trying to find these mismatched numbers plays, and try and do things that aren't in the League of Legends 101 textbook.
Yeah, it's the deadly duo of being the team that spikes harder in the mid game and gets outscaled, and also the team that doesn't have any engaged. They can't start any fights. Maybe around the top lane though, it's Xiaoxu and Wenbo duking it out a little bit, but this Cassante is very powerful, specifically in the isolated 1v1 setting with the Caning Crooked and the Mercury Treads. Rift Herald going to get secured by BLG, as JD Gaming just did not find an opportunity to get in there.
With 2 items, Viper can just clear these waves so easily in the face of Gala. Knows that, especially with the exhaust there, it's super easy to sort of stay safe. And I think that there's always this little bit of chicken that these teams play where Gala never feels like he should jump on to the Xayah for this reason.
Gets flashed on by On, but does not land the charm. Knock up instead, gonna go towards Vampire, and On gets on the board. Here's the re-engage from JDG as HongQ comes in, flashes onto Viper, but he flashes in response, and the Xayah not gonna take a single lick of CC. HongQ still alive as he eats another Dragon Strike, and now Shun going to get chased down by Xiaoxu and JunJia, but there's just not enough damage just yet. On to JDG's side, Cataclysm forward, but Shun's forced to flash away. HongQ gonna survive with the hero's entrance and give a shutdown over to the Rumble as JD Gaming able to get onto the board.
A hair too far forward from Jun there, but he's just buying time for his solo lane, as that was a 3 versus 5 in the mid lane, as we got to see the power that this Xayah has, where she's so easily able to evade engage and to dodge out from everything. Yeah, there's a little bit of Xayah in there, but that was an incredibly well-played fight by Viper as well. We'll take another look at why. Instantly exhausts Scala. Good flash by him to get away from the Rakan and gives him a little bit more free time in this fight. Vampire dies with flash and ulti available, so isn't really able to contribute to this. But then Viper flashes away from the taunt, sidesteps the Justice Punch, and he's able to continue free hitting after this. So just really good inputs, making sure that this Xayah stays alive. And then Jun looks at the map, sees my team are doing so well on the side lane, all I need to do is buy time. I think it would have been fine just to throw a flag at them and deal with it, but turret went down on the top side for Knight. We saw that Wenbo found a turret in the bot lane as well. So it was just all really solid for BLG, and Jun maybe getting a little bit too overzealous.
As you mentioned, a 1-for-1 with neither solo lane for BLG there. Not going to bode super well for JD Gaming. They're going to try to force down this dragon, but Shun's going to make it a 50-50, and he steals it away. That is soul point denied on the side of JDG, and they're going to have to back away empty-handed.
Alrighty, either way, the dragon being picked up by JDG there, really big for them as a sort of last-ditch effort that if every 5 minutes they can pick up a Drake, maybe they'll have a win condition in 10 minutes' time. I mean, even still, I don't think that this game goes on that long, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think that even if JDG get to a stage where that dragon is possible, they're just going to get forced out of the pit. They're not going to be allowed access to it. They're going to have to walk through a Cassante, walk through Miasma, Rakan. Any of these things are enough to just stop the Neferi in their tracks.
Yep, error on my end there. It looks like the Herald was spawned right as the dragon went down, and so I see Jungler appear on the top of my screen as Smite gets secured and think, okay, it's that guy that steals it away. We are on an Infernal Rift, and the Infernal Dragon goes over to JDG, so should have been my call there. Regardless, though, the dragon going over, not going to matter too much, as BLG is still in a really good position.
They are, and ultimately here, for BLG, the game plays itself. They've got a 4k gold lead, they've got 2.5k gold lead for Knight. Viper can turn his screen off and just let Knight carry the game at this point. It just does not matter if there's no agency for the Xayah, because the Cassiopeia can just do the rest of the work. And I think that we're going to see that tenfold here. Knight very quickly stacking up. Didn't even go for a tier this game, by the way. Very common that we see the Cassios go for that. Instead, went Rod of Ages, bought immediately into that Blackfire Torch. So it's just got so much damage much earlier on than a Cassio would do, working towards that Rylai's luxury item with all of the HP that goes alongside it. There's not enough damage without, or there's not enough reliable damage that can get to Knight that will take him down.
Just trying to spike a little bit earlier, I suppose, in the game. Still going to have enough mana with the help of that Blackfire Torch. And it's currently BLG just okay to play that long game. Xiaoxu going to try to push the tempo a little bit, but again, Wenbo just unkillable at this point. Rude, there's this concept coined by the Esports Garage in the triple donut that is winning a game while you're 0-0 and 0.
Oh yeah.
Wenbo's on pace for that right now, although it's a very difficult thing to achieve.
Jun, leave! Get out of here! Get out of here, quick! He's doing it up against Xiaoxu. It wasn't Xiaoxu. We had one earlier this year. Was it Hoya, I think, on a Renekton game that had a triple donut win?
And he just backdoored and won the game. That was ridiculous.
Not quite a Renekton here is the Cassante in terms of being able to go for those backdoors, but it's still on the cards if this game does continue to go this poorly for JDG. Wenbo not needed to be a part of any of these fights just yet, because the three-man band are just doing so well.
Yeah, they're able to 3v5 at this point. Why even bother having Knight or Wenbo at anything? Looks like that's going to be working so far for BLG. On pops the quickness, trying to punish Gala from jumping a little bit too far forward. Speaking of jumping forward, that is what Shun is going to do onto JunJia, who issues the call in the pack and hops on out of there. We have Dragon up in a minute 30. That will be soul point for JD Gaming if they can pick it up. If there is any angle for them to try to have a little bit of late game presence here, it will come around to Dragon Soul.
Yeah, and there's this notion, again, for League of Legends, that when you are behind, even is good. That sort of assumes that you scale quite nicely. For JDG, that's not the case. Yes, they've got damage as they move later, but the composition just does not favour them really in any way. As now we see BLG starting this up. They're going to be spotted doing it.
They take this very quickly, though. There's a Cassio and a Xayah, and they both have 2+ items. The Baron getting ticked down to 5k HP, and JunJia unable to get even close to the pit. The Winds of War, all a futile effort to try to secure that Baron buff, so BLG get it for free. They'll be wearing that purple for the next 3 minutes.
In and out, and job done there very nicely by BLG. Now we look at that Drake, and it all of a sudden becomes such a more difficult prospect. Yeah, they've got a tier 1 in the mid lane to rally behind, but again, when you've got a Baron, you just expect that it's going to crumble with just the slightest amount of pressure. Wenbo can move out of that bot lane. He's just going to walk up, show face, and you'd expect this turret just to fall over. set up for the Dragon in 20 seconds time, deny that soul point from JDG, and then all of their win conditions are just completely gone.
And JDG again, without a source of a primary engage, very difficult to try to stop this Baron push coming through. Instead, it's going to be on, looking for JunJia, who once again is able to escape that quickness. Looks like the Rakan not going to be too upset with that, though, as his team has waves pushing both mid and bottom with that Dragon up for them to take whenever they so please. Crystal Embracer's going to make this an easy take of the tier 2. Now they will turn their sights towards that Infernal Drake.
Okay, so in this game right now, the most interesting statistic is top proximity. How close to the team is Wenbo at any given point? Is he going to get involved in a kill, or will we see the triple donut? That's what we're most invested in. BLG look highly likely to secure a win, as they might get a TP in from said Wenbo.
They're trying to punish Knight here as HongQ goes in with a teleport. Oh, the Justice Punch still connecting, even though Knight flashes away. Wenbo coming in, looking to make an impact now in a full-on 5v5 team fight. He's going to get collapsed upon here by 5 members of JDG, but HongQ's able to flash away. Oh, the Flag and Drag is denied, but HongQ still will go down all the same as Viper gets on the board. And On has the quickness right back up, and it's going to result in even more blood being shed in BLG's favor. It's a 2-0 with Baron buff still in their hands and Gala down for the next 35 seconds.
It took 26 minutes and K'Sante reaching level 17, but eventually Wenbo was able to contribute to only one of the 2 kills that actually happened there. 0-0-1, not nearly as impressive for the BLG top laner. But they will secure this bot lane inhibitor with the Baron at their backs as well. Another 40 seconds on that. You can see a good push in the mid lane coming through from Xun.
Time to re-engage though. Remember, Knight has no flash and JunJia's jumping on top of him. The second Dark and Dagger going to pick up a big shutdown on the Nefiri, and Wenbo might go down next. On here to try to disengage, and Viper still is here. Xiaoxu overheated, looking to flash on top of the Xayah, but he will not find the kill. It is once again Viper getting another into the kill column, and Xiaoxu now down for the count.
So Xiaoxu there giving his life to sort of bring Xun over. It keeps their mid lane a little bit more healthy. I think if BLG were allowed to walk away from that, they'd probably take the inhibitor turret, so this is overall not too awful by JDG. But again, this is just a massively deep commit by the Jingdong squad that they just don't have the damage, the capability to actually go for. Wenbo comes in and zones away the entire 3-man band of JDG that were looking to follow up on that equalizer. And then Xun, not actually able to get fully in there. It's a really good peel by Vampire as best as possible, but Viper just goes in, exhaust on top, and that's the CC that Lucian needed.
And so even though it looked like a decent fight for JDG, BLG still able to win out at the end of the day. Pump their gold lead up to 7,000 here at the 27.5-minute mark. JD Gaming again, not really in a great position to try to even this series up. Still gonna have to be around this top side. JunJia still deathless somehow in this game, although that might not be for long as he gets targeted once again by Viper and On. The Nefiri now at 3 items. Xiaoxu nearing his 3rd as well. Those 2 are gonna have to be really big if JDG want any chance to win out on a fight in the next couple minutes.
This is Nefiri privilege, the fact that we've got no deaths here more than anything. The fact that you can just sort of escape most things every sort of 20-30 seconds or so. Definitely a pretty valuable tool. And Wenbo in particular, this is a real highlight for him, and he should be happy with the performance that he's put on. As for BLG as a whole, they can be very happy with the stability that they're looking to amount in week number 2.
Yeah, I mean, this is yet another instance. We have had in back-to-back splits a rookie top laner going in to replace an established veteran. It was Zoyan in for top esports, Wenbo now here for BLG. Each have had significant impacts, although maybe in slightly different ways. BLG still, of course, have been waiting. We are potentially hoping to see him in our next series that we have for BLG. Both these teams will face off against top esports next. JDG tomorrow, BLG next Friday. The rumors say that this might be one of Wenbo's last series with the starting 5, but it has been a very impressive tenure so far.
Yeah, and even if that is the case, this is a really good chance to show yourself to other teams. Not every team is succeeding. If you want to play in Tier 1 in the LPL, performing well on BLG is a good way to get noticed. And even if you fit a certain archetype of just playing Ambessa and going even, playing K'Sante and not getting rolled by a Rumble, that's good enough for some teams, and they will more than happily take that. So it's a really good chance to showcase yourself as well.
Now BLG looking to try to push the tempo once again. as Xiaoxu will easily get taken down. Does a decent amount of damage to Shun though, still has the Guardian Angel intact, and that means that BLG still in a tremendous position. They don't have the Baron buff, they don't have a Dragon to take, so that means that they can just continue to siege at their own will with a tier 3 tower in the mid lane like the next target.
And they're doing it without Baron here, so all they need to do is just control that top side and then retreat back to said objective. JDG realized how quickly this team can do it. With that Cassia, with that Xayah, it will just melt. Shun Jungle privileging themselves up through the bot side of JDG, and 4 men diving in the mid lane.
Yeah, Gala already forced to flash away. Oh, on! He canceled the Justice Punch and allows for the engage to continue onto the Galio. HongQ ticking low. The Petrify engage gonna stun up Vampire. Viper gets one. A second goes the way of the Xayah as well. And it's still 2 members alive for JDG, but all 5 up for Bilibili. Respawning coming through. 10 seconds on Xiaoxu, but BLG still want to try to end this game and pick up a series sweep.
Last-ditch effort here for JDG JunJia. Can you do the greatest defense?
High value call of the pack, but it's not going to matter. Instantly, Gala is deleted, and JunJia runs back to his fountain. They able to get up 1 kill as Viper has gone down, and Xiaoxu overheated, able to proc the Guardian Angel of Shun. Wenbo taking it really low as well, but it is still a 4v1 with only JunJia still left alive. He pops the call of the pack to deny the flag and drag once again, but there's no way that a Fury can escape this situation. A double kill for Knight on the Casio, and in just over 30 minutes, BLG gonna break open the enemy nexus. They'll move up to 6-0 here in the regular season with Wenbo on their side, and will set themselves up for a date with Top Esports, another finals rematch here next Friday in Beijing.
Playing with their food here underneath the fountain, BLG with an 11,500 gold lead. As that series came to a close, we're more than confident throughout that series to secure themselves what is a 6th straight matchup. Starting to look a lot more consistent here, this BLG side. One of the problems that I had coming from week number 1 was that occasionally they'd drop a game, occasionally they'd drop fights. In this series, they only really had one shaky look. They had one in game number 1 where they got a little bit caught out. But outside of that, this was a clean series back to front from BLG.
And it seems like BLG getting even stronger than they even were at the start of this split. Looking more and more comfortable with Wenbo at the helm. 2nd straight sweep that BLG have had. Of course, the first 4 of those being best 2-1s, I should say. And both of them have come up against opponents that have given BLG trouble earlier in the year. It was JD Gaming that took them to 5 in the Split 1 playoffs, and it was WE who took them down entirely in the Split 2 playoffs. BLG end up sweeping both of them and really maintaining their status as the best team in the LPL.
Yeah, and obviously for JDG, and more specifically I think for Xiaoxu, this is a little bit of a highlight of what they were able to, or what we're looking at for this JDG composition. I think versus Wenbo, the majority of that game number 2 did have a gold lead, did look like they were performing well enough, but not actually able to find a meaningful advantage, not able to translate that onto the map. Shows either how stalwart Wenbo was on that top side, or the growth that we still need to see from Xiaoxu to be able to impart that power onto the rest of the map.
Yeah, you'd think that, you know, against another former BLG junior top laner like Keshi was, Xiaoxu could have had another good opportunity to make an impact on that top side, but Wenbo doing a great job to deny any of it and allowing for BLG to pick up a win rather handily. You need to win at least 1 lane if you want to have a chance back into this series. We thought that JDG could have had that for Xiaoxu, but instead he will have to reset. And JD Gaming, all of a sudden at 1-3, have a very important series tomorrow against Top Esports to try to make sure they don't fall down to an even worse record at the end of week 2.
Yeah, and that's obviously not an easy series by any means. So expectation going into that one, a little bit up in the air. Probably the Top Esports come out as favourites, but we'll see Top Esports again. Just a completely different beast when they're playing domestically versus internationally, and feel like they always seem to show up for the regular season, and we'll see if they can do it against JDG tomorrow.
Yep, haven't necessarily been all the way there just yet, but it was a promising start for them after taking down LGD 2-1 earlier today. Believe we have our updated standings that we can take a look at as we wait for our end of day roll. Still BLG at the top at 6-0, and all of a sudden JDG start making things look like a top half, bottom half situation in terms of the standings.
Yeah, maybe a little bit against the run of play. Again, I mentioned this Last time I was on and we got to look at the standings at the end of the show, I think if you swap JDG and WE, the name value of where these teams are seems to line up with maybe what we would have expected going into this split. But for me, I think Thunder Talk, a very solid 6th place team with 5 wins, even though they've lost 4 series. I think they're a pretty strong side themselves. Would be interested to see sort of if they can make it any further out. LGD as well, 4 wins, even though they've only taken 1 series. That they're picking up these wins here. It really feels like EDG down at the bottom of the standings are the squad that are maybe getting a little bit bullied through group ascend.
And perhaps slightly misleading for JDG just in terms of their strength of schedule. Sure, they face off against Top Esports tomorrow, but next week they round out the first round robin with games against both LGD and Edward Gaming, who currently find themselves at 7th and 8th. So still opportunities for JDG to bounce back, get themselves back into a decent position entering the second half of the regular season, but they certainly have some work to be done.
Yeah, and those series will be good litmus tests, right? Like, they've been able to take a game against Thunder Talk, so theoretically the teams below Thunder Talk should be easier. And we'll see whether or not that actually comes to fruition, because that's the real goal for JDG. I think that as long as you finish top 6 in Group Ascend, you're going to go into playoffs, and then you have a good run of things anyway. So the playoffs is where it really starts to matter. Top 6 is the way of getting there without any dangers. Make it that far, and then look at the postseason from there.
Yeah, I mean, as we mentioned with Top Esports earlier today, JD Gaming having made an international in a decent position championship points wise. Anyone's Legend certainly out of this like kind of top 4 in the worst spot just due to some underperformance that they had in the postseason, specifically in Split 2. But whoever is able to really break out of that pack is going to be able to join BLG for that automatic berth. Right now, it is AL that is slightly ahead in terms of our expectations for them in Split 3, but because they are down in championship points, it really remains anybody's game as to who's going to lock in that auto spot and who else is going to be headed to the regional finals after Split 3 concludes.
Yeah, and I think we've got a lot of seeds, and there's a very real possibility that we get to finally send WE back to an international. Which, with the way that they're looking, like I think that's going to be one of the really big like final regional gauntlet style games that we're going to get is WE versus whoever didn't quite make it themselves, and I really hope that they